Hey there everybody, welcome back to my channel. And welcome to a brand new series, because that is exactly what this channel needs, yet another series. But this brand spanking new series is called The Revision Diaries, Operation Clone Novel. And basically the reason I wanted to make this new series is because I'm about to try something a little bit different, you know, or mixing it up a little bit with my revision process. Because, as you may or may not know, Clone Novel is the code name for the manuscript that I sent in to Author Mentor Match. And I did not get into Author Mentor Match. I will link my videos all about that up there in the cards. But even though I didn't get into Author Mentor Match, I did get some feedback from a couple of mentors, some really good feedback, like a detailed edit letter, good. And the second I got that edit letter, I just knew that this was going to be the most extreme revision that I've ever done on anything ever. Because it's pushing me in a way that I've never been pushed before, but like in a good way. I'm excited about it. Other than when I was in college, I really have never had other writers critique my work before. I'm just shy, and reaching out to people and forging connections and networking has just never been my strong suit. So for most of my life, my readers, the only people who I've ever trusted with my book, have been my two friends Lexi and Gabby, and then my mom. And so, I mean, they give me great feedback, don't get me wrong. They are godsends, honestly. But they've also always been very safe. You know, they're never going to push me to do anything that maybe makes me a little bit uncomfortable. They just kind of give me their opinions, and then I am able to take what I like and leave what I don't and just go forth the way I want to, which then has led to me actually, I feel at least, growing stagnant in my writing. Because when nobody's pushing you and you sort of grow complacent and you stick to what you're comfortable with, there's no way for your writing to level up, you know, that it's just not possible. So that's why getting this feedback from the mentors has been really great, because they are really pushing me further past my comfort zone into really deep revisions that I need to actually dig my fingers into and really work with. This time I don't get to take the easy way. I don't get to justify to myself why I'm not going to go into these deep, hard revisions. I have to do it. Not only because the mentors took the time to give me these revision notes and it would be kind of shitty if I didn't take them, but also because they said that they would be willing to read my revised book. So if I hand over a book that's pretty much the same as the one they read, where I don't take hardly any of their notes and, you know, I don't dig deep into the revisions, like, that would be embarrassing for me, and they would probably be like, why did I waste my time helping you? And this is a good thing. Like, this is the push I need to really take my writing to the next level. I'm pretty much being forced in the best way possible to move beyond surface level stuff and really get into the nitty-gritty of my book, and I'm excited about that. And I thought that since this is a brand spanking new experience for me, that it might be fun to document it for my channel, for myself, and for you guys to follow along. I don't know, it just seems like it could be some good content. So with that said, let's talk about what I've done so far, the prepping I've done for this revision, and then what I plan to do going forward. So far, the biggest thing that I've done is I have completely re-outlined my book. Now, the bones of the story are still there. Everything is kind of in the exact same order as I previously had it. The basic foundation of the story is staying the same. But at the same time, like I said, it's not just surface level stuff that I'm going to be working on. I obviously don't want to get into too much detail about this project. I especially obviously don't want to get into spoilers, but I am going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in this project just so you can kind of understand when I start inevitably complaining about how revisions are going, you'll understand the basics of what's happening. So this project is a young adult murder mystery novel. Obviously it has something to do with clones because otherwise the name clone novel would be a pretty stupid code name. So yeah, murder mystery has to do with clones. That is all you're getting about like the hook of the story, but I can tell you a little bit more about other stuff. So my main character is named Mickey, M-I-C-K-E-Y. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey Mickey. I'm not even joking, that song runs through my mind literally every time I say the name, so I've cursed myself, but at this point it's too late to go back. But honestly, I really love the name Mickey. I think it really matches her personality. She's kind of not exactly a tomboy, she's just, I don't know, like, you know that kid in high school, maybe you were that kid in high school who, you know, wears like kind of like the baggy sweatshirts and puts their head down in class all the time and just kind of has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, a little bit of edge to them. That's Mickey. Pretty much the complete opposite of me, which I love. When I'm writing stories, I love to explore characters who are different from me, who are unlike me, because I like to explore the similarities that maybe I do share with these people who seem on the surface so completely out of my orbit. So yeah, Mickey's personality can pretty much be summed up by saying she's pretty selfish, she's pretty hot-headed, she's got that chip on her shoulder, and she really engages in this black and white thinking, you know, either you're with her or against her. She's not good with compromise, and she has a voice to match this personality. This book is in first person, present tense, so we're just right in her head, and the story starts out strong with her very strong voice, which is something the mentors really liked about the book. But one note that I got about the voice is that it kind of drops off halfway through the book, which again, this is something that I knew, but you know, I didn't have anybody pushing me, telling me to drive that voice all the way through, and so I skimped. I'm not gonna lie, I took the easy way out. I made excuses. I told myself that yes, the voice kind of drops off a little bit, but she's changing. She's going through a character arc, so her voice wouldn't have as sharp of an edge to it anymore, but that's not true. At the end of the day, Mickey does go through a really great arc that I'm really excited about, but at the end of the day, she's still Mickey. You know, she still has her same personality, and that's never going to go away. So I, for this revision, really need to make sure that I am keeping that voice strong the whole way through, which is part of the reason why I knew this was going to be such a big edit, because about halfway through the book, I have to completely rewrite everything so that it is in Mickey's voice. So that makes me nervous, but that's one goal. Another big element of this book is Mickey's relationship with one of her two best friends, Nadia. And this plot line has to do with friends kind of growing apart. You know, the book takes place their senior year of high school, and Mickey doesn't have high prospects for the future, for college, whereas Nadia is very much honor student on trajectory to possibly be valedictorian, looking to go to Ivy League schools, and so because they're on two very diverging paths, their friendship is starting to feel like it's diverging also, which freaks Mickey out. Mickey is very, I don't want to say territorial, but I guess kind of like, again, her black and white thinking. Either you're my best friend or we hate each other. And so when she sees Nadia kind of drifting off more toward people who are a little bit more like her, you know, Mickey's more of a C, D student, stoner, head down in class kind of person. So Nadia kind of starts hanging out with people who are a little bit more honor student, AP student, looking to go to great colleges so that, you know, they can help her with her applications and stuff. And it's not that she doesn't want to be friends with Mickey anymore, but also that's kind of how Mickey sees it. So that's a big plot line throughout the story as well. And a revision note I got for this is just, again, to go deeper with this plot line, to really make Mickey and Nadia's friendship connection deeper, stronger, so that it means more to Mickey when Nadia starts drifting a little bit. And I've talked about this in other videos, but one of the mentors actually suggested that I cut Mickey's other best friend, Sai, from the story completely because she felt that he was taking up space that could be instead used to deepen the friendship between Mickey and Nadia. But then the other mentor disagreed. They said that they liked Sai, and personally I felt that he does play an important role in the story as the comedic relief and also as the guy who puts forth these grand schemes that I don't think either Mickey or Nadia would consider without him being there, without him kind of poking the bear saying, hey, let's go do this dangerous thing. Like, I don't even know if the investigation would happen if he weren't there saying, but what if? You know, so I wanted to keep him around. So my solution for that is to just make Mickey and Nadia more of lifelong friends. Like, they've known each other since the 2nd grade. There's just a deeper connection there. Whereas with Sai, they just kind of included him in their friend group later on in life, like in the beginning of high school, maybe. So, you know, he has other friends that he hangs out with. He prefers hanging out with Mickey and Nadia, but he has other friends, and so that just puts more focus, you know, on Mickey and Nadia's relationship. Hopefully that's the plan. We're gonna see if that works out. But yeah, that's another big thing that I have to tackle in this revision. Another big thing, and this is sort of kind of getting into spoiler territory, so I'm going to tread very carefully here. There is a villainous character who the mentors just want me to make sure I fully make it clear that this character is bad and that the things they are doing are irredeemable. And even though this person in their mind sees themselves as the good guy, as somebody who is doing nothing wrong, I need to make sure that they are thoroughly, what's the word? Villainized? That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's the only word that I can come up with. So make sure that they are thoroughly villainized in the story, especially because this is young adult fiction, so I mean, I don't need to make it so transparently this is the moral conclusion of this story or this character's arc, but just make it a little bit more obvious, like, yeah, no, the thing this person is doing, not gonna cut it, not gonna fly, not good at all. And there's also a character who is a victim of this villainous character who I also need to make sure it's clear, even though this character also does bad things, I need to make sure that it's clear that they're still a victim. And so that requires a few big changes to the story, so hopefully I can manage that as well. And then finally, the last big revision that I'm going to be tackling is Mickey's parents. Again, without going into too many spoilers, they're a little bit insane. They are very fanatical about something in particular, and the mentors just wanted me to go even deeper with that, go even further, just make them even crazier. So that's what I'm gonna do. Basically, the goal is to make these parents so out there that Mickey is considering running away by the very beginning of the book, because she kind of considers it in my original draft. She kind of considers it like halfway through the book, but the mentors are like, no, like off the bat she should already be like on the cusp of running away because it's already so bad, and then make it worse. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. So those are the big revisions that I'm going to have to tackle, and like I said, I have re-outlined the story to include these revisions, but you know, the true test of if I'm going to be able to pull this off is actually diving into revisions themselves. But I'm very happy with my new outline. There were a couple of times where I stumbled a little, where I was dealing with some self-doubt, and I'm still feeling that self-doubt. I'm very nervous about whether I'm going to be able to pull these revisions off or not, because, you know, this is more than I've ever done before, and I'm frankly just worried that I'm not a good enough writer to make this book any better than it already is. And I know I just need to push past that fear and just do the damn thing, but I have kind of been procrastinating starting this revision because of that. Like, I really took re-outlining the book a lot slower than I meant to, and so I'm a little bit off of my own personal deadlines that I've sort of set for myself for this book. So, but again, I just have to do the damn thing. I just have to push forward, and you know what? If I can't do it, then I can't do it, but I'll never know if I don't try. Oh, also, another thing that acted as a stumbling block or a roadblock when I was re-outlining the book, other than my anxiety and self-doubt, was that I was adding in a few things, like we've talked about, that ended up messing up the timeline a little bit, which okay, this is another big revision that I forgot to say. So because this book is like a mystery thriller type of book, I actually am also having to add in a few extra moments of danger for Mickey and her friends to keep the tension up, to make it feel constantly like Mickey is in some actual kind of danger. And I had to fix the inciting incident. Basically, I made the inciting incident like a threatening note that then, you know, it progresses into threatening note, becomes actual moments of danger, that kind of thing. But yeah, adding those moments of danger really fucked up my timeline because all of those moments had to take place during a school day, like at school. That's the only way that it would make sense for those things to happen. And so then between adding extra things that had to happen on a school day mixed with just how many days there had to be for the story to work, oh boy. I was honestly sincerely nervous that I wasn't going to be able to come up with a timeline that made sense. So what I did is I wrote it all out on a piece of paper, and I started just by labeling the days day 1, day 2, day 3, without saying like what day of the week they were, just this is a day in the story. And then I wrote down what has to happen on that day. And so once I wrote all of that down, then I looked at those things that had to happen in that day, and I determined whether it had to be a school day or not. And frankly, again, that just made me so nervous looking at it because there were 5 days that had to be a school day, but they weren't consecutive days. So I was like, shit, what do I do? So then I actually ended up drawing arrows. So from day 1 to day 2, I drew an arrow, and then from day 2 to day 3, etc. But the solidness of the arrow determined whether they had to be consecutive days or whether there could be a couple of days in between them. And so luckily this was what solved my issue, because there were a lot of days that did have to be consecutive, but there were 2 days that could be just, you know, later. You know, I just have to write a transition scene between them. So that allowed me to make this timeline work. And then I wrote out, just so that I would remember, what days of the week. So day 1 is Monday, and we go all the way through to Friday, but then we skip Saturday and we go straight to Sunday, and then from there Monday and Tuesday. And like the last day is Tuesday, everything, the climax and everything takes place on Tuesday. So I got that figured out, but man oh man, did that cause a serious hiccup in my re-outlining. But I'm really glad I did that when I did, and I didn't say, that's a problem for future drafting, revising, Leighton, because I would have been miserable trying to make that work. So yeah, but that was the re-outlining process. And then I also, one last thing that I did, I created scene breakdown worksheets. So for every single scene that I'm about to write or rewrite, I'm going to do one of these breakdowns. And the purpose of this is less for the sake of all of these big overarching revision things that I have to do, because I could do that without this breakdown. Honestly, you know, it's just rewriting the book with a few added things. But what I'm also looking to do for this revision pass is to make the book as full and as clean as I can. You know, I'm not going back to the 0 drafting stage. I'm not planning on making a messy draft this time around. I want this book to, at this point, be as close to query ready as possible. And this is probably the biggest difference, the biggest new part of my revision process that I'm adding, and this is part of why I wanted to do these revision diaries because I wanted to keep track of how this works, or if it works at all. My biggest failing as a writer is when it comes to imagery, and I have gotten a little bit better at it, but I still really fall short, or at least I feel that I really fall short. I almost always, without fail, neglect to describe something, whether it's the setting, the characters. I get too hung up in like the gestures and the actions, the dialogue, and visual things just are not my main priority usually. And I feel like that is to the detriment of my story. So since I'm having to rewrite this book anyway, I figured now was the perfect time to make sure that I had in every scene a decent amount of imagery to really paint a picture in the reader's mind. Because another thing I really suck at is adding imagery in after the fact. Like if I don't get it in there as I'm actively drafting, then it's really tough for me to add it in later. It's like trying to stick a square peg in a round hole. It really just, for me, is something I struggle with. So I want to, since I'm rewriting this book anyway, I want to make sure that I'm getting things in there when I have the chance. So the way I have this scene breakdown set up is I have the scene number so I can keep track of what scene I'm on. I have a description of the scene so I know which scene this actually is. I have the Save the Cat beat, like I write down if it's the opening image or the setup. Then the biggest thing is I have a spot for characters. So every character in the scene, I am describing them. So their overall appearance, meaning like height, physical build, any defining characteristics like facial features, or if they wear glasses, piercings, whatever. And then I get into specifics about what's their hairstyle in this scene, what clothes are they wearing in this scene, and then anything else, like maybe they're just looking rundown and ragged this day because they haven't slept or whatever. And not all of this is going to end up in every scene, but as long as I at least know it, as long as it's there for me to know, to be in the forefront of my mind, then hopefully while I'm drafting, I'll be able to at least include some of these details to then, again, fill out the story. That is the goal. Fill out the story. And then I have a similar thing for setting. I have a spot where I'm listing all of the senses. So for sight, I'm writing down the visuals of whatever the setting is, and then also the quality of light. That's something that I learned in college to keep in mind at all times, because sometimes that really elevates the scene. For sound, I have near sound and a far sound. That's another thing that I learned in college to kind of give a setting depth. For smell, I have two contrasting smells, so you know, like a good smell and a bad smell, or like a sweet smell and a salty smell, whatever. They just have to contrast. Again, depth of the setting. And then I have touch, so like for example, the first scene in my book clone novel, it takes place in a therapist's office and Mickey is sitting on an uncomfortable chair, so like describing the feel of the chair, why it's uncomfortable. And then taste, which is probably going to be the least used sense when I'm describing a place, but again, if there's a really good taste that I can utilize in the scene, I'm gonna do it. And then I have a spot for world building just so I can keep track of what I am explaining about the world, because again, clones, so I have to explain cloning and everything, and so keeping track of what is covered in each scene so I know I'm covering everything that needs to be covered. And then also from Save the Cat, this is from the screenwriting version, not from the novel writing version. There are two things that Blake Snyder, the author of the original Save the Cat, said you need in each scene, and that is emotional change and conflict. So I made 2 bullet points for each of those. Emotional change, I have a start and an end, so you know, Mickey starts out her therapy session hopeful that she can get through to the therapist and the therapist can help her with her family, and then she ends therapy frustrated and disappointed that the therapist is on her parents' side instead of on hers. And then for conflict, it's basically just every character in a scene has an agenda, and so what's the conflict between their two opposing agendas. I'm writing that down. Just, I don't know, I'm really, again, I want each of these scenes, once I'm finished writing them, to be polished, to be full, to be vibrant, to have everything, imagery, voice, just generally good writing, you know? Like, I want it to be something that will hopefully impress the mentors when they read over it. Now, I'm not insane. I don't think that if I do all of this, they'll have no feedback for me whatsoever regarding how I pulled off the revision, but I'm looking to give them as little to critique as possible. And also, this is just for myself, you know? I'm trying, again, to level up my writing, and so I think this is a big part of it, making sure that I finally do better with imagery. It's just kind of an extra personal goal for me. So yeah, now the only thing left to do is actually start revising. And this video I think is gonna be long enough, so I guess we're gonna break these into episodes. So this is episode 1, the beginning, the explanation of what the fuck's going on. I'm really excited to dive into these revisions. I'm really excited to do it with you guys following along with me on this journey. So wish me luck. I'm about to do it right now. I'm gonna start the second episode, video, part, whatever, to this series as soon as I end this one. So yeah, the rest of these episodes are hopefully going to be a little bit more like casual vlogging, you know, with B-roll of me typing and whatever. So if that's something that you're into and you don't like this where I'm sitting in front of the camera just talking at you, it's only for this episode. The rest are gonna be more natural, casual. For this one video, I had to sit down and catch you up on everything so that we're all on the same page moving forward. But yeah, with that said, I'm going to sign off here so I can actually get started revising. Again, wish me luck. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Also, especially make sure you're subscribed now because you don't want to miss a single one of these episodes of the Revision Diaries. Because when I inevitably descend into revision madness, you're gonna want to be there to see it. But yeah, time to go revise. So I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!